Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode of Let's Talk About It. It has been a minute, but the offseason has pretty much officially concluded. NBA season starts in a couple months. We only got really USA basketball to look at right now, but I wanted to go more so a different route, something new that I haven't done yet, more of a deep dive into every single NBA team before the NBA season starts, kind of give me their expectations, their X factors for this upcoming season, what I expect for them, and then one question I do have for them going into this year, and also just talking an overview about the team and what I feel like they've done over the past over the past season going into this next season. So we're going to start out with this episode being the Oklahoma City Thunder. So obviously, Thunder team, we kind of already know, talent all throughout the roster. Their main two free agent acquisitions were Alex Caruso, and that was a trade, their Josh Giddey trade that kind of got everything going this offseason. And then Isaiah Hartenstein, who they signed from the New York Knicks, gave him a really, really nice contract, who some said was an overpay, but I think when you look at this OKC Thunder team, and they are really addressing a need, especially with how teams are trying to stay away from the second apron and everything else, they have the money, go out and get something very, very valuable. Like, most of the time I was of the mindset of, like, do they need to go smaller and get like an Andre Drummond or somebody like that, somebody that is just going to be a dominant force on the glass. But Isaiah Hartenstein brings the rim protection, the rebounding, and the ability to still finish nicely around the rim and play off of a Chet Holmgren really well, with Chet Holmgren's versatility at that 4 spot. And Alex Caruso, we already know who he is. Like, pairing him up with Lou Dort, they have one of the best wing/guard defensive tandems in the league. I think the only one I would say is better right now is Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. That's, I feel like, in terms of wing defenders, I feel like those are the two guys that I would put above them. Then you can talk about like guys like Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, but I feel like Alex Caruso, Lou Dort is in the conversation, top 3, top 5 of that kind of tandem defensively, and what they have outside of just SGA, who's a good defender, Jalen Williams, who's a good defender, Chet Holmgren, who's obviously a prowess at protecting the rim. So looking at what they have to use on this team and looking at how they got bounced by the Dallas Mavericks in the second round last year, looking at it, they really addressed some of those needs. I feel like Josh Giddey was at times unplayable, and to get Alex Caruso, a plug-and-play guy who you can start or come off the bench, who's just going to play his role, defend at a high level, be able to catch and shoot at an elite level as well. He's the perfect fitting piece. He doesn't need the ball to be effective like Josh Giddey, and he can just space and shoot. He's the complete opposite of a player of Josh Giddey, and I feel like that's going to help this team thrive even more so, because Josh Giddey, I felt like, yes, he was already the odd man out. Like, you can kind of see the writing on the wall, like, not even this past year, but the year before, he was kind of the odd man out in that situation over there in OKC. But now, swapping him with Alex Caruso and giving him no draft capital at all is a steal, in my opinion, for his value. I know Josh Giddey, upside-wise, I feel like when you look at him playing in the Olympics right now, you see the flashes, and maybe Josh Giddey just needs a new fit over there with Chicago. We'll see how that whole thing works out. But talking about this potential starting 5, going into this, for all these teams, I think it's the starting 5 that they should go with based on what they have on the roster right now. I think it's the best fitting pieces and what they could do. So at year 1, you're going SGA, obviously. Alex Caruso at year 2. Jalen Williams at year 3. Chet Holmgren at year 4. Isaiah Hartenstein at year 5. I just think you kind of put yourself in a position to where, 1, you should start Isaiah Hartenstein. 2, you gave Isaiah Hartenstein a lot of money, and he's not going to come off your bench if you're paying him that much money, right? And then off your bench, you still have guys like Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Jalen McDaniels, and Jalen Williams, my fault. And then now you have Lou Dort coming off your bench as your 6th man. So, like, defensively, you have everything you need on this roster. Like, and you can match up with everybody now in the Western Conference because you have more size. You can be more versatile. You need a lineup where you need to switch. You can put Lou Dort and Caruso out there, go small ball like you did last year, and put Chet at the 5 and Jalen Williams at your 4. So that's a more switchable lineup. But if you need more size, you have Isaiah Hartenstein right there as well. So looking at this, like, that starting 5 is going to be super, super versatile. And looking at what they have, I think the lineups that you can create to match up with different teams is going to be very, very interesting. I think this OKC team is like, they have all the tools. Like, when you look at their roster, they're not lacking in anything anymore. They have the shooting and the spacing. They have the rim protection. They have the just the size on the wing to guard a lot of the wings in the Western Conference. You got to think you're going up against guys like Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, like all those guys. And then you have Isaiah Hartenstein now, who can match up with like a Nikola Jokic. Not saying he's going to stop Nikola Jokic, but he's a bigger body than just having Chet Holmgren and really only having Chet Holmgren. So, like, now they're prime, ready, and they didn't really overpay for any of this stuff. Like Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't really think they overpaid for any of that. You got Alex Caruso without giving up any of your draft capital, and you got Isaiah Hartenstein, and you signed him out of free agency. So you still haven't given up anything that you have in your back pocket in terms of draft capital and young assets to go get these guys. And you traded Josh Giddey, and that was already a fit. Everybody knew Josh Giddey was pretty much out the door as soon as the offseason started. So looking at this, I personally think the X factor looking at this situation for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think Alex Caruso has to be the X factor. I think his play and his defense alone is going to push this team to the next level. I think the pairing him up with Lou Dort, like I said, that tandem is going to be very, very nasty defensively. And him being the X factor, I would understand. I already know what I'm getting from SGA. I already know what I'm getting from J-Dub for the most part, and Chet. I already know what Lou Dort provides. I think Alex Caruso is the X factor because of what he can do to replace what Josh Giddey wasn't doing. The three-point shooting, the spacing, the defense, being able to play off of an SGA and a Jalen Williams, not taking the ball out of their hands. So looking at that, I think it's a perfect fit for Alex Caruso to be the X factor. I can understand Isaiah Hartenstein as well, but I think Alex Caruso's defense alone on that perimeter is just going to be disgusting for this Oklahoma City Thunder team that really has everything going for them into this next season. Expectations are pretty simple. I think they're going to be a top 3 team in the Western Conference easily. I think they're going to be on the cusp of winning 60 games this year. When you're looking at this team as a whole, they're young, they can get up and down, they can play a lot of different styles of basketball to match up with a lot of teams throughout the regular season. So looking at this team, I think they are a good enough team, even with how tough the West is. That's how good I think Oklahoma City is. I think they're going to be on the cusp of winning 60 games this upcoming year. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they match up with a lot of the top other teams in the Western Conference. See how they match up with the Dallas this year, with the Denver this year. So, those are the 2 teams, Dallas and Denver, who I see has still threats to the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I do think that Oklahoma City Thunder are, right now, in my opinion, the second best team out west. I still give the nod to the Dallas Mavericks because I feel like the Dallas Mavericks also exchanged some pieces and got better like the Oklahoma City Thunder just did, just exchanging pieces and getting better. So it's going to be interesting to see. I can't now wait for them to play because I think it's going to be such an interesting matchup and clash of styles there. But the expectation is for them to be a top 2 to 3 seed out west and to possibly get to the 60-win mark. I don't think that's really out of the realm of them doing that at all. You have an MVP candidate. You have a deep roster. You have shooting, spacing, like I said already. You have everything you need. And then the main question I do have for the Oklahoma City Thunder going into this upcoming season is who's going to be the number 2, right? Is it going to be Chet Holmgren? Is he going to take another jump, especially offensively? Or is it going to be Jalen Williams to continue to be the number 2 that he has been? And is he going to be able to take a jump to enter into kind of how you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, right? Can J-Dub elevate his game to kind of get to the same level of an SGA? Not maybe an MVP caliber level, but can you see J-Dub get into the conversation of being a top 20 to 25 player in the NBA in this next upcoming season? That's more so what I'm saying. Or is it going to be Chet Holmgren to get up into the top 20, top 25 player in the league? So I think that's going to be very interesting to see who emerges as kind of the number 2 to the SGA. So looking at that, Oklahoma City Thunder in a prime spot to make another deep playoff run. I think this team has everything you want, barring any injuries, and even if the injuries do come, you have a deep bench, and you have the assets to go make a move at the deadline in case some things aren't working out, like say somebody gets hurt, knock on wood, like say something like that happens. You have the assets to go make a pivot move at the deadline if needed. You have the depth on the roster, like even Alex Caruso, like say something happens with Alex Caruso, Casey Wallace has proven he can be a knockdown shooter and a high-level defender already in his year 1 last year. So you have everything you need depth-wise. I would not be shocked if this Oklahoma City Thunder team was in the finals next season. Even with how young they are, now they have playoff experience on their side, so who knows what kind of team that we could be looking at this upcoming season. But that is all I have for this episode of Let's Talk About It. And OKC Thunder, deep dive going into next season, expectations, X Factor, starting 5, offseason moves, just kind of giving an overview of what I view this team doing this upcoming season. But That's all I have for this episode of the Barrel Talk Podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.